What is going on, everyone? My name's Boit, and I'm back with another tier list with this new tournament just starting up. I thought, what better time would it be than time to go through the team game tier list. I don't actually think I've done this one before. It's incredibly hard to get this accurate because every single god has its own interaction with another god on this list that can boost it up. Like the teamwork capabilities of certain sets of gods is really, really strong. Now, that being said, I'm going to try my best to get this as accurate as I can. There's going to be people out there who are going to hardcore disagree with me, and that's completely fine. To start things off, I'm going to start with the absolute best, strongest gods in team games, and we're going to go with the top 3 gods, I believe, in these team games. We've got Loki, which is going to be a bit of a surprise to a lot of people considering how low ranked Loki is on some of the other tier lists. Like on the 1v1s, he's one of the weaker gods, simply just on the fact that he gets beaten by a lot of gods there. But all of Loki's weaknesses are pretty much covered up in team games. You get, and not only that, his bonuses or his strengths get exemplified in team games. So, for example, one of Loki's biggest weaknesses is that on relatively low hunt maps, Loki gets absolutely wiped off the floor in a 1v1. But in a team game, the relatively low hunt maps where there's like one hunt patch or something for Loki to grab, Loki can eat that by the time someone comes and pushes him off. He's already finished and he just goes back to his base and eats herdables. Completely fine. And then beyond that, if a map is huge, speed starts becoming king. If you've got Speedy Herser with high HP, high damage, and high chaos-inducing abilities due to myth unit spawns, you can get so much value out of that. And then beyond all of that, he's got one of the biggest power spikes in the early stages of the game with flaming weapons. Now, in a team game, there's oftentimes going to be ceasefires, frosts, and other ways to deal with flaming weapons, but as you'll see from the tier list, a lot of those gods that have those god powers end up going a little bit down on the tier list, and Loki ends up having a lot of fun in these team games. Now, I'll be interested to see, mostly here in this tournament, if the only reason Loki is up here is due to the uncoordinated aspects of team games, and then once coordination comes in, maybe Loki's going to drop down a little bit and start finding some pain to be used. So we chuck him here, but for now, the reasons are that Oranos comes in at second, in my opinion. Oranos, beyond the fact that Oranos is just an all-around strong god, Oranos is very, very difficult to put out of order. So Oranos is just a solid god through and through. You get the citizens that can jump into a manor, very hard to raid. Beyond that, you get the 10% boost in all of your military, allows Oranos to be a very aggressive one town center civilization, which is really important in a team game. If you have multiple one town center aggressive civilizations, you end up being able to double much more effectively in a team game and actually get a lot more value than if you just all go for 1v1 type things. So those one town center civilization, those one town center, like strong one town center gods, super good in team games. So Oranos sitting here. Beyond all of this, Oranos gets access to Helios. Now, Helios is something that's probably come a little bit more into favor recently. Helios is the Vortex god. Vortex is 3 charges of teleporting with a ridiculously strong myth unit or building killing myth unit in the Hecagigantes, which can just completely carve through a town center. So the idea with Oranos is that in a team game, you're going to be able to hit 1 person's town center, 2 person's town center, 3 person's town center, and it's going to be all over for them they just can't react and defend against all of that. So that's why Oranos is up here. I feel like right now we won't be having too much disagreement. I think most players are going to feel like Loki and Oranos or most of the competitive players are going to feel like these are the strongest gods. This next one might come as a surprise to some people, but I'm going to explain why he's here. Boom. Ra. we don't see too many Egyptians in team games. There's reasons for this. It's because Egyptians find it really tough to help their partner out. Now, the reason why we see Ra players struggling a little bit in team games is because Ra players like to boom and they go a little bit too hard into it, and oftentimes their partners can lose before the Ra player gets to get going. Now, I believe that Ra has got a very, very strong ability to help out with doubles by actually just playing classical age ideas. You can go for Spearman into semi-fast mythics and hit some crazy timings with Ra, which I've shown somewhat in recent moments in my Age of Mythology life. But most importantly, Ra is just going to be this consistent rock who's going to be able to carry the late game. So if you can get past this point at which Ra is going to struggle with it in the team games, and there are ways to around this, I would say in coordinated team games, but if you can get past that, Ra is just going to keep on booming, and just be an unstoppable force that no one can defend. So these are my S tier gods. I feel like this is a fairly strong. These are the best 3 gods that we're going to be seeing. Now, when I say this, these are the best 3 gods. These 3 gods don't necessarily work together that well. So you have to understand that when you have a team games need to have a balanced team that all of the strengths are working together in tandem. So I reckon we would very rarely see a Loki Oranos Ra composition. We might see a Loki Oranos something else composition. We might see an Oranos Ra composition. We might see a Loki Ra composition, but very rarely would we see all 3. So that's a really interesting thing that I think about in these team games. Anyways, onwards and upwards. I'm going to put these 2 gods in exactly the same tier for exactly the same reason. These gods I'm going to put Thor slightly in front of Odin. I'm going to explain why after. So these 2 gods here are sitting in the A tier because they work with any god. Any composition is going to be happy to have a Thor or an Odin in their team comp. Why? Because they've got mobility, so they can raid really easily, and they've got a game-ending god power in Ragnarok. Beyond all of that, the Norse have the strongest late game in team games by far. The reason is they can build anywhere on the map, cause the chaos, and it's really, really hard to deal with. You can say, yeah, Zeus has got the Colossus, really hard for Norse to deal with. Doesn't matter. Norse has got other gods who can help him out against those strengths. That's the point. They have weaknesses, but they're covered by their other gods in the game because it's a team game. And they're going to be able to get in behind the enemy lines, drop buildings, start hitting back town centers and force chaos everywhere. That's why these gods are here. Now, the reason why Thor is slightly above Odin, which might be a little bit weird. Now, Odin does get access to ravens, which I think are very, very strong in team games. But the reason why I put Thor slightly above Odin here is simply because of Dwarven Goldmine. If Thor holds onto Dwarven Goldmine, in the early stages of the game, I do feel like Thor does not need that early game economic boost, and you hold it for the middle of the game where you want to be using it, and you get some sort of nice classic heroic age timing, then your dwarves do not need to leave your base, and you don't get any weaknesses. Thor is not going to have any weaknesses that he has to worry about. He's going to be able to hit crazy, strong Ragnarok timings, and it's going to be really, really hard to punish Thor. So that's why these gods are here, in my opinion. The next one, this is where things get really, really tough. Now, I want to premise this by saying every single one of these gods, regardless of where they're sitting on the tier list, is a valid pick in certain situations with certain compositions. You want to build your team around a composition that works well together. So we're going to drop down into the B tier, and we're going to be adding in Set. The reason why Set is here, Set has got a whole bunch of very huge, underappreciated ridiculously strong tactics to do with animal creation. Creating deers and sending them over to a Norse player's main base so they don't need to build an ox cart, for example, and they can hunt for the entirety of the game while the set player is doing whatever he needs to do to keep going. Things like that haven't been explored, and I 100% believe that they are ridiculously strong. Now, beyond all of that, Set is also a timing attack machine and has shifting sands, vision, tornado, ancestors. These god powers will be able to clean up something and do a lot of damage to someone and really help out in one of these S tier gods plans here. So say you go Set with Loki and Loki moves in, hits someone's base with the flaming weapons timing, and then you see ancestors coming in, tornado coming in. That's a dead base. That's a dead person. Very, very strong god here to be using with those upper echelon gods as a more of a support role in the team. The next god is another support role god. I'm putting Gaia here for several reasons. And you might be looking at some of these gods down the bottom and going, wow, how are they not being put in here yet? And we will go into that. So Gaia is sitting here for the reason that Gaia's got Gaia Forest. If you give Gaia Forest to any of these gods above it, maybe not Oranos, but any of these gods, they start going into the stratosphere and being super, super strong in the early stages of the game. Thor players, Odin players, Loki players not needing to build an ox cart allows them to put ridiculous amounts of pressure on, get ridiculously fast town centers up, do crazy amounts of early game shenanigans. Beyond all of that, Gaia is not weak to her weaknesses. Her weaknesses are myth units, but guess what? Her team is going to be able to cover up those weaknesses, and that is a big element of what makes a team game god strong, is having no weaknesses and having very, very strong in something else. So Gaia has a ridiculous economy. Beyond all of that, Gaia also has something that is invaluable, which is you can prevent your opponents from getting town centers by using Gaia Lush. It's one of the most annoying gods in the game. If you kill a town center and you can spread the Lush over it, you can really slow your opponent down. And beyond all of this, tributing. This is something, and slinging. This is something we haven't really seen a whole lot of, but it's something that's going to be probably seen in the tournament, is slinging. Slinging is something where you take the resources from one player and you send them to another player. There is a 10% penalty in slinging. That's nothing. Basically, it's something. But when you think about how many more resources a Gaia player receives versus how many resources, say, a Zeus player or a Thor player or a Ra player receives, and then you go, hang on, if I send them these resources, they're going to have so much more than they normally do, and they're going to be able to use that with a much better usage than I will as a Gaia player. So you can find some crazy advantages by using Gaia here. And this is why Gaia is in this B role. Definitely a support god, definitely a god you need to build around, but definitely something that is going to be very usable here. Beyond this, we have the next gods here. I'm going to put these gods relatively in the same rank as Set and Gaia. I think that they are also technically support gods. I put them in this order for a specific reason, and because of that, maybe what we're going to do is we're going to chuck them all into the C tier. Now, remember, I wanted to put these in the B tier, but I'm putting them in the C tier for... No, screw it. Let's do it like this. Let's just do it like this. These gods are going to sit here. So, why is Hades not going to be with Zeus and Poseidon? Well, Hades is not with Zeus and Poseidon because Hades doesn't have speed. That is the only reason. Zeus has got access to centaurs. Poseidon has got access to Hippocon. Zeus also has access to Hippocon. So does Hades. But Poseidon's got Hermes. So Hermes can make the centaur go faster. So Zeus has also got access to this. Not only that, Zeus and Poseidon have got access to ceasefire. And these are all of the reasons to pick Zeus and Poseidon. Is ceasefire, ceasefire, ceasefire. Hades does not have ceasefire, so that's a big weakness. So what does ceasefire counter? Well, it counters a flaming weapons. It counters a shifting sands. It counters a frost, counters a Frost, it counters Ancestors, it counters it counters like a Tartarian Gate kind of thing, or an Implode. Not really counters the Implode, but delays the Implode. A whole bunch of other stuff. So, Zeus has got Centaur, Poseidon has got Hippocon, Hades has got nothing there. Now, these gods, like I said, this tier is what I call the support tier. This is the support tier. You have to build your team around. You have to build your team around these gods to make them strong. So Zeus and Hades do have a very, very strong god power in Underworld, and this is a team game winning god power, and very useful to have in a team. If you're going to be playing around Underworld and winning games with Underworld, then you should be thinking about adding these gods into your team and trying to work out how to use it, because it's definitely a way to win. Now, beyond all of that, you could do like crazy compositions where you go triple Zeus and go for Athena rushes, and it's really strong, but that's not available in the tournament, which is kind of why we're sitting so low on these gods. But regardless, I still don't think that that's a very valid strategy anyways. And yeah, so that's kind of it. So when we actually talk more about this, like Centaur, they're not very strong because there's going to be likely a Loki player you're going to be fighting who's got Hersa. Beyond that, there might be an Egyptian player who's got the priest out who can kill those off easily. And you got like you've got Hersa could come through for Thor as well to deal with all of that. You got plenty of answers to those Centaur. They're not going to be doing all too much in most games. Some games they're going to pop up and be ridiculously strong. But if your opponents are trying to make a composition that is really strong instead of just playing whichever gods they want, oftentimes Zeus is going to fall flat in that area and have to do something different, which means he's going to be sitting kind of similar to the Poseidon in terms of strength with Hippocon. Poseidon does have stronger Hippocon than Zeus because they're cheaper, but Zeus has got access to Underworld. So that's why I put him a little bit ahead. And then Hades sitting down here in the C tier. He is fine, but I do think that you're going to find all of the advantages with Hades in Zeus, plus having a little bit better. Now, Hades does have access to Sentinels, which is a team game helping god power. If your opponent gets rushed by, like, say, a Kronos or something like that, you can cast Sentinels. Things can be difficult to win the game there. But he's sitting down here in the C tier just for that matter. And then we've got these two bottom tier gods. I mean, I don't 100% think that Kronos is D tier. I'm going to actually pop him. Can I pop him down? No. He's going to come back and we're going to find a better spot for him because I feel like this god, he is not a D tier. I put Isis in the D tier for a few reasons. Everything that Isis wants to do is too slow. That's the 100% the only reason here. Now, the fastest amount of help that Isis can give a teammate is going to be a very fast Ancestors Eclipse. Now, I could definitely see Isis having some value on certain maps. Say if you play a Midgard map, you could definitely see Isis being played. Now, the biggest advantage that Isis actually has is God power monument protection. Moving your villagers into your partner's base, throwing down a monument there, and preventing them from getting nuked by a set, by a frost, by a vortex, by a Ra, by an earthquake. All of these things Isis can help out with. But because Isis is so slow, Isis is kind of having to do some stuff that she doesn't want to do. So Isis's best bet in team games is often going to be going for Anubites, running around the map with Anubites, role-playing a little bit like Zeus, trying to boom behind the Anubites so she doesn't fall too far behind because she is Egyptian, and she will fall behind an economy if she doesn't go 2 town centers. She's going to have to do that, and then you don't have Eclipse to go with your Ancestors, and then immediately the Zeus player or Poseidon player in the game have got Ceasefire for Ancestors, so that becomes weak. And then beyond that, she doesn't have access to Horus, so that's not going to be an immediate town set to kill. If she wants to go through Thoth, she can, and that can be strong to get the War Elephants out, but that's a thing that she is going to have to worry about where that's concerned, and she's just too slow. There are comps that work with her, but you have to seriously build around Isis. You can't just throw Isis in there. Now, the reason why I left Kronos for the last is because I missed where I need to put him. He's bloody strong. He's bloody strong in team games. Why is he strong? Time shift. God, that's disgusting. Time shift is disgusting. Beyond that, Kronos also has a lot of opportunities in a team game to steal things like siege towers or Heliopolis. He's also got access to Trader to steal Heliopolis siege towers and use Vortex. So we've seen that. I've used that. Something you can do, and it's very, 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 very likely to happen in a team game. And then you basically get access to three underworlds in a way, because and not only that, Citizen build really fast. So they're like underworlds on crack. So the question is Kronos better than Gaia or worse than Gaia? Because I would say that Kronos is in this support tier. You don't want to, you have to build around this god to make him work. But beyond that, he does have early game pressure. So he works even better with these Loki, Oranos kind of gods here who want to put early pressure on. You can go for Kronos rushes and make things work. So he's got a lot of value around the rushing gods, which is definitely a strong thing to do in team games. But I'm gonna put him above Set. Screw it. We're gonna go with Kronos above Set. This is my tier list. I'm locking it in. I don't know for certain if anyone out there is going to agree with me, which is completely fair and reasonable. We're going to be seeing which gods the best teams are going to be picking in this tournament. And then maybe we can revisit this tier list afterwards and say, you know what, I'm very wrong. Or you know what, I was very right. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this one, please leave a comment and let me know who you're looking forward to seeing in this team game tournament. My name is Boit, and I'll see you guys in the next game.